anyway, Albie Kaizu. So a couple important things. I remember Nate gave me this analogy and it really resonated with me of order of operations. If you remember like bed mass from school, if you suppressed it, that's totally fine too. But I think it's really important, like you sometimes can do things out of order and you might get the right answer, but I think it's a lot safer if you do things in the right order. So with regards to the butterfly, I think it's very important that I get something to block Albie from passing to my left side, my bad side, and his right side before I go with my butterfly hook. Okay, so what I mean by that is if I'm just here with my knee shield, my shin and my foot is actually hooking him so he can't like circle to my bad side, right? But a lot of times guys get discouraged playing butterfly from half guard because they put the butterfly hook in first. But now you can see there's actually nothing blocking Albie from circling this way. So a lot of times guys put the butterfly hook in first and then their partner starts crushing them or circling to that bad side. So I think it's important that you need some sort of control to hold him in place before you switch to your butterfly hook, okay? With our traditional butterfly suit that we're gonna look at right now, I'm gonna start with my underhook. So when I kick my knee shield through, I'm gonna sit up to my elbow and I'm gonna pummel my left arm in for an underhook, just like we normally would in half guard. So I kick through and I get to here, okay? If I decide I'm going for the butterfly sweep, I'm actually gonna keep the belt grip too as a good anchor. But now my arm is serving that function of like keeping him on this side. Okay? He can't jump over because my whole bicep and arm are blocking him on that right side. Now I'm gonna do a little hip escape back, and now I'm gonna put my butterfly hook in. Once I have my butterfly hook, my actual half guard hook isn't as important to like keep him to me anymore. My butterfly hook's gonna be doing that. If you feel like your hips are flexible enough to keep your half guard hook in front of you like this, then just keep it here. Out of personal preference, I tuck this foot to the other side of him. Okay, let's rotate a little bit. So I feel pretty jammed up with both my feet together, so I take my foot out to this side, okay? It's important with my butterfly hook, see how my knee is to the outside of my elbow. If you keep your elbow to the outside of your knee, then when you go to sweep him, your knee line's gonna collapse inward, so I have to keep it this way. My head is tight to his chest and his shoulder. The last step before I go for my sweep is to collect the arm. Ideally, I'd like to grab like at the elbow and tuck everything in tight here, just there's no chance of him posting. But you could also just grab the wrist and like punch it to his hip. The idea is I just don't want him to post in this like quadrant here. So ideally I'll scoop the whole arm tight to me, and as I fall, I'm visualizing falling almost like forward. I'm gonna go from my hip all the way down to my shoulder. Don't make like a pit stop on your elbow. It's gonna block you and you're not gonna be able to continue your sweep. So when I collect the arm, again, I'm gonna go all the way down to my shoulder, and I keep my butterfly hook sticky, but most of the sweep comes actually from my half guard hook. My toes on the floor are gonna help me pivot. So as I fall to the side here, my butterfly hook lifts him in the air, but it's actually these toes that's gonna generate the power and the rotation to like go up onto my shoulder here and guide him over. Okay, you should be able to do this slow. It doesn't need to be like an explosive kick the guy over, okay? Now when I land, usually we're gonna be in like almost like a 3/4 mount here. So as you land, I'd say you can start to like lift your hips up and go knee cut back the other way, or you can start to like windshield wiper over to side control on this side if you want, okay? Unless you want to land in 3/4 mount, that's fine too, but sometimes it can be tricky to free your ankle, so sometimes it helps to plan ahead. So again, starting from our half guard, before I get my butterfly hook, I'm gonna shoot my knee shield through, get my underhook, grab the belt. Here I need to scoop my hips back to create space to put the butterfly hook in. And here I'll even come to my hand if I need to. Now I can clear my half guard hook out, collect the arm. Again, ideally I wanna hook over his elbow, cupping the tricep so he can't post the hand to the floor. But this would still work even if I just jam Albie's like hand to his hip, okay? When I fall, again, going up onto my shoulder, try not to fall back. You can still make it happen, but it's more likely he's gonna flatten you out and you won't be able to generate the force to get him over. So ideally when I collect the arm, however I do that, I fall to my shoulder. And again, really emphasize the toes of your back leg here. That's what's gonna help guide him over. And then again here, try to avoid landing with the 3/4 mount. So as I drop him, I lift my hip up, and I can do a nice knee cut into side control here as well, okay? So the movement without Albie, as weird as it is this. I get my underhook, I tuck my leg, and I'm falling to my shoulder. Okay, a lot of times when you fall to your elbow, it kills all your momentum, and then you're gonna feel like you can't pivot to knock him over. So I have to tuck my arm, and again, my butterfly hook is flexed and staying sticky, but it's my bottom toes doing this. Okay, allowing me to like pivot, and then if I need more power, I can take a second step and then use the butterfly hook to like knock him over. So one more time all together. half guard, underhook, scoop back, butterfly hook, tuck my leg, fall into my side, really emphasizing my toes taking over. All right, let's go with the butterfly hook. Once I insert the butterfly hook, my knee, or my foot rather, my shin is not blocking his hip anymore, so I have to have something to keep him in place from circling behind me. So if I start here in my four corners, if I decide to put my butterfly hook in first, then before I even get the butterfly hook, my hand that's blocking his arm is gonna grab the fabric like right at the knee here. Okay, and then this is actually a really good grip that now if I do put my butterfly hook in, like Albie can't just circle that way. Like I have this to keep him in place. Okay, if I don't have this, again, if I go here, like Albie can step that leg back and start circling to that side and you see how he just easily clears my guard. And this is maybe one of my favorite passes is the person on top. So before I put that butterfly hook in, if I want to do this with the butterfly hook, then I make sure I reach for his knee grip here. Okay, and then now when I put the butterfly hook, if Albie tries to run away, he's not going anywhere anymore. Okay, I think that's very, very important for this next one. Knee grip first. Okay. Now, once I have the butterfly hook, my hand's gonna come into the collar. And my knee right now is kind of to his right shoulder. I wanna tuck it underneath like his left shoulder here. I'm gonna like shelf him onto my knee. As I do that, this is probably the only time in half guard where I purposely like eat my own knee line here. Normally we want our knee free or in front of his knee. This is the one few scenario where like I'll actually push myself deep into the half guard, okay? As long as I have these grips and I have this knee underneath his armpit here, it might feel like I'm flattening myself, but you have a very powerful ability to like turn to your side now. So I use my toes on the floor, and I just turn my hip this way. Albie catches his balance, but that puts us right into single leg X. Okay, so my butterfly hook didn't really move. I just went from my right hip to kind of flatten my back or closer to my left hip. Still have my grips, and then my half guard leg that shot all the way through is just gonna go heel to his hip. Okay, and for terms of like reaping, if Albie postures up like straight fully here, just to talk about the knee reap and lift his arm for us, Albie. If I was to draw like a line straight down to Albie's body, if my heel crosses over, I'm reaping his knee, which is illegal. It puts like a lot of unhealthy or unsafe pressure on his knee. So to avoid that, just make sure when we're here, I always keep my heel in the crook of his hip and my toes outward. And then that way my heel's never gonna cross over that center line and it's not gonna put any unhealthy pressure on his knee, okay? So I could get disqualified for reaping, but Albie could also disqualify himself. If he pushes on my foot, sometimes people will do this, not knowing. But if he does this, one, he could hurt his knee, and two, he'll get disqualified, okay? So keep it simple, keep your heel to his hip and your toes outward, and then that way I'm not reaping him, okay? Now the sweep I want to look at today is if Albie's actually on his knee here. Our most basic sweep from here is to like lift my hips up and dump him backwards. But when his knee is down and his weight's in his hands, he's leaning too far forward. So even if I have all the grips I want, I try to lift my hip, like he's not gonna budge. But what I can do is I can get a secondary pant grip with my left hand. So my hand that was on the collar can go to the pant grip. If you can't reach, my little butterfly hook can like reach for his leg and pull his leg to me. So I have like a double pant grip now. I'm still gonna do the same movement. I lift my hips up and turn to the side. But the key for this to work is I need Albie's foot to slide out from under my butt to this side. So right now I feel how his foot's on this side of my hip. When I lift my butt up and pull this leg out, see how it comes free on this side. Okay, this is really strong. Most people think you can't hit this sweep when the person's knee is down. But as long as I pull this foot out from under my butt, now I can get this single leg X sweep. And very easy from here just to get to my elbow, retract my leg, and come on top. If you want to work the ankle lock, that's a great position to do it from as well. But we can also just focus on the sweep too. Now, I mentioned you can do this without the butterfly hook. So if you don't want to switch this leg to a butterfly hook, it just adds one extra step later down the line. Okay, but for now, I could go collar, I could go knee grip, and I'm still gonna shelf my knee under his armpit as I pull myself deep into the half guard. Okay, using my toes on the floor, I just turn my hip and here. But now, let's rotate a little bit, Albie. You can see how my foot is not tucked in. So once I get here, for me it's not an issue. I have such little legs that, okay, it just tucks in. But if you have a hard time, just give your partner a little push, and then I just tuck my foot in, okay? This just keeps this leg safe. I don't want him to try an ankle lock or toe hold or put me in 50-50, so I can avoid all those things by just tucking this foot in here. If you initially put the butterfly hook in half guard, then you won't need to do this extra step. Okay, but it's a very small little detail. Now, for my sweep, I keep the pant with my right hand, my left hand was on the collar. I just need to get this second pant grip. You could just swivel yourself there and reach for the pant grip. If you feel like this leg is long enough, you can kick it through, and I hook his like heel, and I pull that to me, and then now I have both my pant grips. Same thing again, if I just try and turn my hip, nothing's gonna happen. I have to lift my butt off the floor so I can pull this foot out from underneath my butt. So I lift my hip, pull the foot out entirely, and then now, very easy to retract your leg and come on top. All right, again. So let's go with the butterfly this time. Before I get my butterfly, I always get my knee grip first, tuck the butterfly hook in, same details. I shelf my knee under his armpit, turning my hip to the side, heel goes to his hip. I control the pant, and I have to reach for my second pant grip, nice and low to the cuff. Lifting my hip up, foot slides out, retract my leg, and I can come on top. All right, let's